Hello and welcome to Thor Thoughts, the Indie Author Book Review Club, right here on my YouTube channel. My name is Eric Woods, and I will be talking about the indie author reads that I had for the month of February. And there were, four? I think there were four this month, that's correct. Two novels, a novella, and a book of short stories, all of which I would highly recommend. And I hope after you hear my glowing reviews of these, you'll just run out and get all these books. Or maybe one at a time, I don't know. You don't have to be like me and, hoard books and, have people telling you have a problem and you need to stop buying books. Well, I'm not going to stop buying. As I was saying, there are some wonderful books in this collection that I read in February. We're going to start off with the novella that I read, and I think you'll find this one a little bit of an eye catcher. Maybe I should take him to the vet. Anyway, the novella is entitled Evening of the Mutated Undead, and it's written by a good friend of mine, a great author, another one of the horror authors that I know. His name is 𝒯𝐃, and he has written a ton of great stuff. And this is just one of your good old-fashioned gruesome horror reads. All right, it's a short novella. You can read it in a day or two, but it's kind of got that B movie horror feel to it, like something you'd see on the Sci-Fi Channel or in one of those old cassettes from the 80s. I mean, there are aliens, monsters, zombies, you name it, and the storyline is kind of like this. So there's an alien starts this like chemical warfare thing, and people are dying and they're coming back to life as mutated zombies, and the mutations are eyeballs. That's right, eyeballs all over their body. So just disgusting to even picture, but you can picture this. The way he's writing this, you can picture this whole thing. And of course, the eyeballs are getting smushed when the people are fighting back. So really it becomes kind of your typical trying to survival story, survival of the people who haven't been killed or turned into these mutated undead, and they're trying to survive all of this horror that's going on around them. Again, it's a very simple story, very easy to read, something you could do if you're just kind of in the mood for a nice little gruesome story. Like I said, the eyeballs get a lot of squished and blown up, and it's kind of gruesome. But if you're into that kind of stuff, highly recommend 𝒯𝐃 mutation or Evening of the Mutated Undead. Yeah, dude, I get it. You're the top slasher. There are no better slashers than you, but there are other slashers out there, and maybe we can just talk about another one for a minute, please. I hate when he does that. There are other slashers, Gosh. Anyway, speaking of slashers, my next book that I read in February was called The Namaste Slasher, written by Alan Shivers. Now, Alan is also the author of the 𝒟opeia trilogy. Now, this is a standalone, though. It does not have anything to do with those books. And this one starts out pretty gruesomely itself. It's a good opening for a horror story. So you got this group of people, they're doing a meditation, but they're doing them, it's the new millennium, it's the 2020s now, and everybody's doing Zoom and virtual things, and so they're doing this virtual meditation, and people are all in different locations, and well, that kind of comes in handy because one of the people who is meditating looks at the organizer and sees this big fella in a Buddha mask come up behind her and decapitate her right there on screen. And I mean, it is just awful, and I can't imagine seeing that during a Zoom meeting. But from there, it's that woman who saw it. She's traveling with another group to this location, kind of an isolated place. 80s horror. Let's go back to that. 80s horror slasher. Of course, you're gonna get some good tropes from that. But you get to that. They get to that place. It's a little slow at that point, but it does pick up again when they sort of reveal the legend of the killer who is there at the cab, or at not the cabin. Sorry, not the cabin. It's not a cabin. It might be a cabin, but I'm not going to tell him. Anyway, there really is not a big secret as to who the killer is. Okay, they have this legend of a big hulking man that's hanging around the area that kills people on certain days, and it's really not a surprise that it does turn out to be him. Sorry for the spoiler, but there are some twists though towards the end. There's some things you weren't expecting in this, so it's not a completely it's not a complete Friday the 13th kind of thing where you know exactly who's in charge and who's doing all the dirty work. But there are some other unanswered questions that happen there. And I think this is a book that could probably, actually not probably, it definitely could have a sequel to it. I don't know if he's planning on a sequel, but the door was left open for that because the killer in this, much like this big guy back here, kind of unstoppable. He took a licking and kept on ticking, and not really sure if the kill shot was really what did him in. So could see more to this story because there were some unanswered questions at the end of the story, and I think there is room for another one. So check out the Namaste Slasher. It's by Alan Shivers. This is a novel length, so it'll take you a few days to get through this one. And yeah, if you're into those kind of the slasher tales, this is definitely one to check out. Don't go breaking my heart. I had to read something for Valentine's Day that had to do with, hearts. And that's why I read The Broken Heart by N.J. Gallegos. Now, this is the first book I've ever read by this author, and I met her last year. It was at the Dark Arts Horror Con in Champaign. She was selling her books. That's actually the second year in a row she'd been selling her books there. I saw it a year before that, and I almost bought it. I didn't. Went back this year. Glad I did, because this is a very, very good book. It's definitely got a lot of blood and guts. Yeah, just from seeing the cover, you can tell. So here's the story, right? So there's apparently a killer going around, murdering people, leaving like X's carved into their faces and other parts. So, and then there's this lady who is in this horrible situation, horrible home life. Got a husband that's not very attentive or anything, a psychotic son who's only like 9 years old, and almost a practically brand new baby. Not to mention she's got a heart problem, very bad heart problem, that apparently was brought on by the conception of the second child, which she was not really all that into. Now, she's wearing this contraption but waiting for a heart transplant. All of a sudden, this heart becomes available. Okay, some guy's killed in a car accident. Well, turns out it's this killer that they had never caught. And she gets this heart transplant. And stop me if you've heard this this premise before. Once she gets the transplant from the killer, she kind of becomes that person. Did they do a Simpsons episode on that? One of those Treehouse of Horrors? I think Homer got like a head of hair, like a hair transplant. And anyway, getting off topic here. But she gets that heart, and all of a sudden she's having these dreams about how she's chasing these victims that this guy killed down and killing them and leaving the X's, and she can't seem to put two and two together. She's also having these horrible thoughts about her family, and maybe not the baby, but like the other two. And, well, yeah, this is kind of a shocking book, let me tell you. The one thing I didn't really like is that they don't delve into the actual killer. She doesn't really get into the killer's backstory. You guess you're supposed to assume that the heart came from the killer, even though they never identified the killer. They never even mentioned it. She doesn't really say much about it. And so it's kind of just left, kind of an ambiguous thing where that you're supposed to assume it's the killer whose heart. Apparently he was on the transplant list. I guess I transplant his organs. He's killing people, but he's an organ donor. So there's at least there's some good in this person, but we really don't know who the person is. I'm not even sure. I can't even remember if they give his name out. So I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity there. But this book, the ending is wild. It is absolutely wild. She could definitely write another one, but I believe this was her debut novel, and it was written several years ago, so I don't think there's going to be a sequel or anything. But if you get a chance, N.J. Gallegos, she's not on Instagram, but she is on Blue Sky. And so you can go check her out there. You can check her books out on Amazon. So The Broken Heart, if you're into kind of a really good twisted psychological horror story, this is a good one to check out. Again, I know we've seen the whole body parts being put into. I actually had a story in mind too that I was going to have that was similar to that, and I probably won't do it anymore because I'm seeing too many similar stories where killer dies and his body parts put into somebody else, and that person becomes the killer. I don't know. Anyway, good book. Check it out. 𝒯𝐻𝒪𝑅, The Broken Heart. It's not her only book. She's got a couple others out as well. So definitely recommend and give her a shout out. It is a funny thing that we're doing this Thor Thoughts Indie Author Book Review Club monthly, because the final book for this month's reviews is called 12 Months of Horror. That's right, 12 short stories, each one starting off with January through December. And it's really cool at the beginning, the introduction, they say you can read one book or one story per month, or you could binge them all at once, which of course is what I did. Some of the stories were based on holidays during that month, a couple of them at least in particular. But this book is curated by Mallory Swinsky. I hope I'm saying your name right, Mallory. If I'm not, I apologize. And 𝒃𝓊𝓉𝒽𝒻. Now, these are also authors of other books too, so definitely look them up. But they have kind of put together this collection of 12 stories, and each of them has a story as well. And I will start out with 𝒃𝓊𝓉𝒽𝒻's story, Body on the Beach. Oh man, you kind of get Pirates of the Caribbean themes in this. It kind of starts out that way, but finding a body on the beach, that's kind of a terrifying thing, right? Well, they don't know what killed this body on the beach. And not only that, this whatever it is, it might be a creature, might be a person. It doesn't really say, but it's got some gruesome details as to what happened to this body. Now, I was really hoping to read more on this, because this was really sucking me in, and I wanted to keep going, and it just kind of ended, and I wanted more. So, Carly, if you're listening, write a sequel, write more, write the next piece to that, because I want to read more about what happened on that boat and on the beach and all that, and all those people, and what they did. Did they catch the monster, or the person? What did they do? I want more. Come on, or don't. I mean, it's a short story. You're supposed to end it like that. A lot of my short stories end like that too, but that means it's a good one because it leaves you wanting more. So definitely one of the better stories, one of my favorites in that collection of short stories. Another one of my favorites was Up Snake Road by Jessica Gleason. This is another one that ended too abruptly. It's about a couple. They get into this. They come to this cabin. They thought they've rented it, and it turns out there's another couple there, older couple. And there's this big to-do, and they're all, everyone's angry, and how they double book, blah, blah, blah. Well, just wait till tomorrow, and we'll get it all figured out. But you kind of sense there's something up with this older couple that's already there, and this other couple that is there, that traveled there, they're kind of having their own problems, and they didn't need this on top of everything else. But yeah, when they wake up the next morning, there's definitely something really wrong. And I just wish it hadn't just ended though abruptly like that. I wanted to see more of what happened. There's some things in there that I really wanted to see, or read about happening. But it is worth a read. It is very much a story that there's something going on here, and you just can't put your finger on it. And then when it pops out, it's like, oh, that was cool. So, Up Snake Road, Jessica Gleason, another one of the great stories of 12 months of horror. And another one is spiders. I hate spiders. Cassandra Dawkins' Webs. If you're not a fear, you don't have arachnophobia before, read that story, and you probably will afterwards. Although Arachnophobia, the movie, was pretty good too, but it was creepy, and as is this story. So, spiders. I'm looking around for them now. Okay. Summoning the Hag. That was the October Halloween-themed story. This is by Jason A. Jones, and this is basically a warning to bullies. You bully the wrong person, and you're going to get fucked up. And I don't lie, because this is a very gruesome story of revenge from people who were very much bullied by some people that are going to pay the price. And then finally, we have Mary by Mallory Swinsky, one of the curators of the book. It is the December story. Of course, it's got a Christmas theme to it. And all I can tell you about this one is you should probably believe in the spirit of Christmas, even as an adult, because it might just save your life. The 12 Months of Horror, curated by Mallory Swinsky and 𝒂𝓊𝓉𝒽𝒻, a very, very great collection of short horror stories. Highly recommend. And that is all we have for Thor Thoughts this month. Those were my books on from February, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you go out and get those books. They're awesome. There's some great authors in there. Check them out. Again, 𝒯𝐻𝒪𝑅 with Evening of the Mutated Undead, Alan Shivers with Namaste Slasher, N.J. Gallegos with The Broken Heart, and of course, the 12 Months of Horror, curated by Mallory Swinsky and 𝒂𝓊𝓉𝒽𝒻. So we will be doing more in March for Thor Thoughts, because I'm reading another crop of indie author books. Also in March, be on the lookout for the second quarter of the Indie Book of the Quarter. I'm going to have a new tournament that's going to come out toward the middle of the month to determine the next Indie Book of the Quarter. We already had one of those for the first quarter. We're going to start the second quarter in April. I'll read that book in April as the Indie Book of the Quarter, and it'll go on to the end of the year's EUE Book Award, Indie Book Awards in a category of Indie Book of the Year. So be on the lookout for that. But until then, I will see you soon.